I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, I'm delighted to welcome back one of my favorite guests. Her name is Laura Burke. She is an esteemed novelist with an impressive track record of 14 published works over the past 10 years. Laura has captivated readers with her Jolene Murder series, which is known for its intricate plots and surprise endings. Her latest book is called The Duffel Bag Murders, a Jolene Mystery, Book 3, and it promises to continue this legacy, offering another gripping tale in the series. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us once again here on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful books. The links are below this interview. Laura, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
It's good to be here.
So
I missed you.
What's that?
I missed you.
I missed you too. You always have great stories to tell us. Like I said, you're one of our favorite guests. Jolene is back at it. You're back at it. You've written another sensational installment of the Jolene series. This time she's called in to help out with a particularly gruesome murder, or series of murders, I should say. So why don't you set it up? Tell us what the Duffel Bag Murders are all about.
The Duffel Bag Murders are about somebody going around and killing people and putting them in an army duffel bag and burying them at abandoned houses in their yards or in their backyard. And Jolene's called in to help the two FBI agents solve this cold case. She is very fortunate that she has the wits about her to look deeper than what the police had looked at these cases at before. They were kind of shuffled aside because they were real old and they didn't have time. And I can understand that because the police departments are very, very busy. Mm-hmm. So Jolene starts looking and trying to find clues, but there is nothing in the duffel bag or in the corpses that she has found to pinpoint where and who has been doing this.
It's a great premise. It's a great setup. It's quite a chilling prospect that these duffel bag murders would be taking place. Tell us a little bit about Jolene, for the folks who haven't read your earlier novels about her. She's kind of a special detective, if you will, correct?
Yes, she is. Jolene started taking clippings about missing girls when she was in high school. And she kept it from her father, who is the chief of police in their town. But one day she was running late and she left the book out on her bed, and he was curious as what she was saving these newspaper clippings about. And then one of her friends disappeared. He asked her some questions about it, and he said, well, you know, these are all old cases. There's no way anybody can solve them. And she set out that she was going to solve those cases. And she went to school. She decided to become a private eye and work with her uncle, and on the side work on these cases. And she was able to solve these cases by a man that was claiming to be a photographer. And these girls were going to him to get their pictures taken, but ended up on the other end of the camera as a murder suspect.
And that would be the model murders. That's book 1.
That's book 1.
Yep.
And so then the two FBI agents that started working with her were so impressed by her skills, they decided to take her on another case. And that led to her solving it, and so forth and so on.
And that's the toy store murders.
That's the toy store murders.
And now here we are. And the FBI agents have come to her once again. She was wondering if they ever would, but they do come to her door and they need her help with another murder. series of murders, rather, and that's the Duffel Bag Murders.
And because the FBI is so impressed with her, they make her an official FBI agent. So her two partners, the FBI's, they were instructed to go down to the basement and start pulling cold cases and give them to Jolene to see which one she wanted to work. And so that's where we're at now.
Wonderful, wonderful. As far as the progression of the novels go, are you excited about this one? Do you feel like you flushed out the character even more of Jolene, that, you know, now that you've lived in it for 3 books, you really can write her and the scenes exactly as you want them to be?
Yes, I really do. I have another Jolene that's coming out by the end of this month, which is The Boy in the Box. And that one is really, really Jolene 100%. But she's also falling in love with one of the FBI agents that's part of her partner. And she's quite dynamic in her beliefs, and she don't take any flack from anybody.
You know, she reminds me of somebody. Let me see who that might be. The author?
Yeah. And I had promised you
the
next time we met, and I had to cover up my name, but I told you I would show you my badges.
There you go. That's when you worked as a private eye, correct?
That's right.
Amazing.
And here's my badge from New York.
Amazing. That's great.
So I told you I would show you my badges.
That's wonderful. That's why, if I didn't forget, I remembered that you were worked as a private eye, which had surprised me during our last conversation, but now it all kind of fits together, sort of like a Jolene murder mystery. The pieces are all coming together. Any of the cases you ever worked on as a PI play a part in one of your novels?
I can't divulge that information on the grounds it might discriminate.
That sounds good. You can neither confirm nor deny. That sounds
exactly.
Great. Now, when you were kind of an armchair detective yourself now. I mean, you're not a PI engaged as a PI anymore. When you read about some of these heinous murders, I think we talked a little bit about Rex Heuermann on Long Island, the Gilgo Beach serial killer. When you're reading this stuff, do you almost feel like sometimes you want to like pick up the phone and say, hey, did you look at this? Did you think about that? Because, you know, you've got a good mind for this stuff.
Well, yes. And in my novels, I try to put in a lot of the information that the normal steps that are taken when you're trying to solve a case. And it's a lot of research. And if you're not willing to do the research, you're not going to get to the bottom of the case.
Yeah.
And therefore, I try to use as much of my knowledge along with my research that I put in these books.
Tell the folks at home where you set the Duffel Bag Murders. Where are these series of crimes taking place?
Oh, well, you know, they had to take place in the North.
Exactly.
Nobody in the South would ever do anything like this.
No, they're all innocent down south.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at the Jolene series, if you had to choose one to be a movie, which would it be?
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be
because
a great
it's
series.
a series. And, you know, each one is a different case. So, but Jolene and the 2 FBI agents are permanent fixtures. They're family. Yeah. So they have to solve these cases. And if I had to choose one to be in a movie, I couldn't do it because it is a series. And I think that the series would more or less prompt that you would have to keep writing it. Right. And you'd have to keep showing these series.
Right. And you'd have to begin at the beginning, I guess, with the model murders and then go from there, because that's where we're introduced to Jolene. Well, Hollywood, if you're listening, these would be a great series of movies or a TV series. It'd be wonderful to have Jolene as a recurring character. She can be like a female Magnum PI in a way, which would be wonderful indeed. The Boy in the Box, is that the name of the fourth book?
Yes, it is.
Now, I think you teased that a little bit the last time we spoke, and it was very grisly. Tell us a little bit about The Boy in the Box and the murders involved there.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the name of the town, but it's a very small town, and the menfolk are being killed off one a year. And there's a curse that involves the town that was put on the town by the chief of this Indian tribe because the settlers had moved in and taken over the reservation. They kept pushing them out. So the chief said that he was going to get back his land one way or the other. And so once a year, like the second week of March, this big white stallion with this chief is riding it. Now the chief is dead because the settlers had killed him, but his spirit lives on. And they all know that if they kill off the menfolk, the women will leave. So then they can get back their land. And that's where this story starts.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds great. Can't wait for that to come out. Is the Jolene series your favorite series of books so far? Because you've written, like we said, 14 so far.
Well, I started another series, and I got up to the 6th one, and I halfway finished it, and then I just put it aside because I was getting very frustrated and aggravated with my publisher, put it that way. And that was the Maison series. And then the rest of my books are all individual until I picked up on Jolene.
Gotcha. Now, do your with your interest in murder and crime, do the people at your office sometimes look at you a little sideways, like wondering what's going on there?
Yeah, even my husband gets a little bit scared sometimes. He thinks I might kill him in his sleep.
Well, you know, then that's good. A little bit of fear in a relationship's not a bad thing, I guess. In case anybody's watching, I'm joking, but like you're joking as well. You never know in this digital age. All they'll take is that little snippet and they'll get all over the internet. But
yeah, well, you know, like I say, you know, murder is my business and I kill people for a living.
There you go. That's a good introduction. You should have that on your business card. There you go.
Yeah, but then people would want to hire me and I don't know how I'd handle that.
Exactly. You don't want to follow through on that. That's for sure. So tell me again, what was the first book you wrote? What was that?
The very first book I wrote? Oh, I guess that would have been.
You're using a cheat sheet there. You're looking at your wall of book covers.
Yeah, I'm looking at my wall. That would have been the first Maison series.
Gotcha.
Of the Maison series, Tears in the Sand.
Gotcha. And we talked another time about your story that's set up in Watch Hill, correct? About the Black Orchid series, not series, but book. And that is quite a fascinating book as well. Just since we have the time, I love that book. Let's tell the audience a little bit about the Black Orchid.
Well, Black Orchid is found on the beach in this small town where this guy has gone to retire, basically. And he brings it into his house. And the storekeeper, he just can't wait to tell her. He likes to whittle little characters from the beach that he finds out of driftwood. And she's become part of his life, basically. And he finds this black orchid and it's pouring down rain. She comes over and she can't believe that he found this black orchid. She didn't think they existed. And when she picks it up, she has some cuts on her hand that from the store. there was some poison in the black orchid that entered the cuts, and she dies. And then the freeze comes, and it's up in New England. And the people that live on the island, they begin to die. And they're finding these frozen bodies in their houses. But the black orchid is also found there. And he's determined to find out what's causing their deaths. And that's how much as I can tell you.
That's a wonderful story, wonderful story. And, you know, we have a very famous pop singer who's got a home up in Watch Hill nowadays. You know that, right?
Yes.
Taylor Swift. So we'll keep the black orchid away from her, keep her safe.
Oh, okay.
But she's definitely put the town on the map, that's for sure. And you're putting the town on the map as well, because I think that also would be a great movie, because it's such a spectacular place. I know you haven't been there, but it's on the list of places to go. But Watch Hill is a spectacular slice of New England. So you definitely have to put that on the list for sure. Surprise endings are a big part of your books. Tell us about how you craft a surprise ending, yet not have it so much out of left field that the audience is like, or the reader's like, oh, come on.
Well, usually I give 2 or 3 different suspects to a story. But then at the very end, which I never know who the killer is until I get to the last chapter. It never turns out to be one of the suspects that you would pinpoint. You would say, oh, well, he's got to be it. This is the guy. This is the one doing the killing. And then when you get to the end, it's totally different. It's out in left field. It's somebody you would have never, ever thought would be the killer. But they're in communication with the FBI and with Jolene, and they would never suspect him. That's how I do it.
Well, it works. It's a wonderful way of doing it. Also, your writing style, I like it because it's very clear. It's a little like almost like staccato, where it's a clear day. The weather was cold and dry. We were bracing for winter. It reminds me a little bit of like noir, when it's narrated by a PI. Do you like that kind of stuff? Do you like film noir?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any movies that you tend to like that are from that genre?
Right. I've been doing a lot of little seminars online with several different people, and they always say, you should put a lot of human interest, like you went out to dinner. Where'd you go to dinner? That type of thing. Where did you live? What kind of building did you live in? And talk the way people talk. So that's what I try to put into my books. And I'm trying to do a little bit more of that as the series goes on, because it makes it easier for those directors out there that want to put my books on a movie.
Yeah, exactly. To visualize it, because it's not just a story, but you're actually setting a scene. A lot of writing a screenplay is describing, it was a cold, dark gray day in November. The rain was teeming down on the streets of Watch Hill. Far ahead, we see a building with a light illuminated in the distance, and so on and so forth. So building that kind of visual scene is important. And you've done it certainly in the Duffel Bag Murders, that's for sure. I really enjoyed it. When do you write? You're a busy lady. You're working full time still, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, I work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, when I'm not watching football, I do my writing. And like this past weekend, I knocked off 3 chapters of the new book that I'm doing, which is called The Surgical Murders.
Okay.
And
Surgical Murders.
I just started.
Is that you just started that one?
Yep. Just started it, and I'm up to chapter 19.
Okay. Well, that sounds like more than just starting, but so you're writing with the inspiration there. Tell us a little bit about The Surgical Murders without giving too much away.
Surgical Murders is about 3 girls that went missing. They went to a retreat and they're all realtors. And they went to the seminar at a memorial, and they just disappeared.
Hmm.
And one of them was engaged to this gentleman, and it's been 5 years and nobody has been able to find out where they went. And Jolene and her two partners are tracing her footsteps to find out where these three women went to. And they find out that all three women, from the police reports, they found the bodies, but they could never find the killer. And this appears to be someone that has medical background. And there's 2 or 3 different people that could be the killer, that have surgical backgrounds, but I'm not going to tell you anymore.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Sounds like you got another winner there, that's for sure. Now, who's your first reader? Do you do it chapter by chapter? Do you let your husband read it first? Tell me a little bit about how you go about getting somebody to look at your work.
Well, actually, I am very guilty. I use a program called Grammarly. I write the chapter, and then I put it over into the book, and then I read it to see if I like it. If I don't like it, I scrap it and start all over.
Gotcha.
Or I add to it if I need to. And nobody reads it until the book is finished.
Okay. So once it's all done, you give it to I know you dedicated this book to your sister. You said she's a big fan of yours. Did you give it to her? Did you give it to your husband? Did you give them to both simultaneously?
No, I give it to my sister. She's actually not my sister, but she's my very best friend.
Okay.
And we call each other sisters.
Gotcha.
I give it to her, and she usually reads it and then gives me some comments back. But generally, she has nothing to say except, "Oh my God."
That sounds great. That sounds great. Well, it's nice that you dedicated the book to her. Tell us a little bit about your friendship. How do you know her? How long have you known her? And are you guys near each other geographically anymore?
No, she's in Florida in that nice warm weather. We talk once a week, and also I email her a lot, and she emails me back. I met her through MWA, Murder Writers of America. We used to go to the same meetings, and she is down by West Palm Beach.
Gotcha.
Florida. And we've been friends for, I guess, the last 5-7 years.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, it sounds like you owe her a trip. I think you need to get down to West Palm Beach for a week or 2 or maybe a month.
My problem is I can't take a vacation because who I work with, the doctors won't let me go.
Well, that's the problem being a valuable employee. Sometimes it's hard to get time off. But I wanted to ask you also are there any real life crimes that you're particularly fascinated by, whether it's Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy, or like we said recently, Rex Heuermann? Are there any killers that you've read about, you're like, this is fascinating that he or she went undetected for so long?
Sometimes I listen to these unsolved cases on TV, and things go through my mind about, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? How come it's taking them so long to nail down who did it? And so then I try to change my line of thought and stay away from them, because then I would stick my nose where it didn't belong, and the police would probably cut it off.
True. But it is interesting research, I'm sure. So do you read a lot about true crime, and you listen to podcasts and that kind of thing? I think you said yes last time, right?
Yes, once in a while. Yes, I do. Yeah. I listen to some podcast. And I also, on the internet, I read about certain ones that are coming up. There's just so much and so many cold cases out there. It's just unbelievable that there's over 100,000 just in the United States alone that have never been solved. And we're talking about, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and the killer has never been found.
Yeah.
That's, it's just unbelievable.
Well, that is the case with the Gilgo Beach murders. They took place over a period of like 10 years.
Mhm.
The last body was found, I believe, more than 10 years ago. But the victims were sex workers or prostitutes. So there was very little interest, very few family members pushing the cops. And the cops had the clues there right away. They said it was a 6'5" man who was about 300 pounds who drove a Chevy Avalanche. And all they had to do was cross-reference on their computers. A Chevy Avalanche is a very unique car. And when they finally did look at the cold case once again, they looked up Chevy Avalanche. There's only one in the scene of the near the scene of the murders, and the driver turned out to be a 6'5", 300-pound man. So it's
Mhm.
funny how the cops, although do a great job often day in, day out, no doubt they're overworked, don't bother at times to look at, key evidence and solve these
Correct.
cases. Yeah.
And that's the problem. The police, I I love them to death, but
Mhm.
they're overworked. And the work that they do, they're underappreciated. And that makes it hard for them to do their job. So when you get a case like this, oh, well, it was a prostitute. Nobody's going to care. And
Yeah.
that's the way they look at it.
Right.
Nobody's going to come up and claim the body. It's going to go buried in with unknowns, and nobody's going to know the difference.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I know a detective they can put on the case, Laura Burke, PI. You've even shown me the badge. She will crack the cases, but when she's not cracking murder cases, she's writing about murder cases. Her Jolene Murder series is just wonderful. You've got the model murders, you've got the toy store murders, you've got now the Duffel Bag Murders, which is perhaps her best book yet, that takes a look at a series of murders where bodies are being found in army-style duffel bags. She's got 2 more segments ready to go. Book 4 is just about complete, or is complete, right?
It's complete. It's at the printers now.
Okay, wonderful.
And that's a boy in the box.
Yep.
And then the surgical murders, we're leaving our publisher that we're using right now and going with another famous brand,
Great.
which I think you already know. And that's going to be the surgical murders.
Wonderful.
And that's what I'm writing now. And I'll probably have it done by the end of January.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we wish you continued success and look forward to these newest installments of the Jolene Murder series. Laura, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
You're very welcome, and I look forward to doing it again very soon.
Wonderful. Can't wait to talk to you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.